Hello, I'm Matt Frawley, and this is Mathey Talks, and I am super excited to have Harriet Kiwanuka. She is a senior here at Mathey College and also an RCA. And my first question for you is that I heard, I can't say a rumor, but I've heard that you have won Best Smile for the last 4 years running. Is that true?
No.
No?
No.
No. But if there was a contest, you would probably win, don't you think?
That's flattering. Hopefully. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I'm just kidding.
Well, I gotta tell you, you're just such a great influence here, and you're such a bundle of energy at Mathey College. It's really great to have you here, and I really thank you for taking the time this morning to be with us. So you're just such an interesting person, and I thought it'd be great to have you on, and just so everyone else could see how interesting you are. So tell us, what brought you to Princeton? Tell us about where you're from and how you got here.
Okay, so I'm from Norwood, Massachusetts, which is like a suburb 30 minutes south of Boston. And so I'm one of five. My parents are both immigrants from Uganda. So I was born here, but my oldest brother was born in Uganda, and like most of my siblings were born here as well. So I come from a really big family. Some of my family still lives in Uganda, but most of them live here, like the family that I'm most close to, which is awesome. So why Princeton? I don't know.
Well, before you go there, have you been able to go over to Africa at all, or Uganda, or
no,
it's hard to get? Yeah.
Yeah, not yet, which
Right.
is a regret I have, but hopefully after graduation,
Right.
I'll be able to get over there.
And I know Uganda is right next to Kenya, so do they speak Swahili, or?
Yeah, some subsets of it do speak Swahili.
Right.
Yeah.
I know they'll have their tribal dialect, but also their Swahili in Kenya at least is taught nationally. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was the same with Uganda.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Swahili spoken in
Yeah.
Uganda as well. Yeah.
Okay. Did you learn any Swahili yourself?
No, I didn't.
No?
Yeah, no.
Oh, So, all right. So sorry. So you're getting ready to apply for colleges, and you put Princeton on there.
Yep.
All right. Was it your top choice, or?
So, down to the wire, I was between Princeton and Harvard. So, I actually got waitlisted from Harvard, and then I got into Princeton, but then I got into Harvard afterwards. But then, like, I think maybe if I had gotten into Harvard the same day I had gotten into Princeton, it would be like more of a difficult choice. But
Right.
I think like after I got waitlisted, then I was kind of just like, So then I just chose Princeton, and then I came here, and I just fell in love.
When we came for
Yeah,
Princeton
from
preview?
Princeton preview.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was that sealed the deal.
Yeah, it sealed it.
Good for Princeton.
Yeah, but I really like Princeton just because a reason why I picked it over Harvard is basically just because of the emphasis it has on undergrad education, and I felt like even all the classes I sat in on during preview, all of the professors had all these like interesting, like, because I'm pre-med as well, so all of like the scientific professors had like all this interesting research, and I was like, wow, this is really cool that like you can potentially like work in their lab, and like they bring all this research into class and stuff like that. So I was like, this would be really awesome, an awesome fit for me. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I can't remember if you were a preview class that got to see kind of the way we do Princeton preview now with the big welcome with all the colleges. Did you experience that?
Yeah, I did.
So was that cool?
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Yeah.
It felt like really homey, and there was definitely like a community on campus, and even just like in the colleges. Like during Princeton preview, I was actually in Forbes. So that was like a hike, and I was like, oh my goodness, everything's so far away. But even just in Forbes, being there for preview, I had a great preview host, and just being in Forbes and like knowing that there was different like colleges on campus, it was just really cool. Like it made little communities inside of like the bigger communities, so I really liked it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so then you arrive, and tell us about your first year.
So my first year was pretty awesome. It was awesome in the fact that so my RCA was pretty great. She made like my whole Z group feel really comfortable, and she was really amazing.
And we should let everyone know who that was, because she was
Angela Groves
Angela
is a
Groves.
big thing. She's
Yeah,
going
she
to be
was
like the next president of the United States,
Yeah.
but in a few years. Her days
She
will
was
be nice.
incredible.
She's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, but actually, so my Z group was really close. My best friend, Cricket, who's also an RCA, was my roommate freshman year, and my other best friend, who Hill, but she's like not. She was in Mathey, but she's not like an RCA or anything. She's actually a CAP officer. But she was also like really like really a crucial part of my freshman year, just because I had like 2 really close friends freshman year who I've carried on those friendships throughout the next 3 years.
And was cricket as hard to get along with as I've heard? It can be kind of difficult, right?
The first day I was kind of like,
Cricket, as you know, is an RCA as well, Maddie, and she is the sweetest person on campus. She's awesome.
Yeah, that was really big, and just our whole Z group, it felt like a little family away from home, which was really great. Academically, freshman year was kind of difficult just because, I mean, it's a common story, but just I was really used to excelling in all of my classes very easily, and especially science classes, whereas here they're really hard. Gen Chem was really, really difficult for me. I got used to it, but it was kind of a shock. It was humbling, which was nice. But yeah, I really liked all of my classes freshman year, and my freshman sem was amazing, and yeah, it was really a great. I liked it. I grew a lot freshman year. That's cool. So.
Now, so you sophomore, and then obviously your junior year, you decided to apply to be an RCA. Did you apply your sophomore year as well? Or were you studying abroad, or?
Oh no, I applied my sophomore year, but then I was put in a different pool.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. You know, so what a bummer. Okay, well, thankfully it all worked out that you're here. So, so tell us about the RCA experience. How's that been?
It's been really great. It's been awesome. I was really excited to be an RCA my senior year. I was really excited just because I knew it was going to be such a different experience, and I knew from because sophomore year to junior year was a complete shift in the way that school kind of worked, just because we went from dining hall plans, if you're in an eating club, you go into the eating club, and there's a whole different social scene. So that was a big shift. So I knew junior to senior year being an RCA would be a shift as well, but it's been such a refreshing shift, and it's been I'm so grateful for the experience thus far, just because I don't know, my Z's are all so inspirational in a different way, and just feeling like I'm playing a role in their lives, and that they feel like they can come to me and talk to me about anything, or just ask me for advice, or just tell me funny stories about something that happened in class, or tell me about their family problems or anything. It's just I'm so happy to be that for someone. Just because Angela was that for me freshman year, and just so many different people I've met here have been so pivotal in different experiences I've had on campus. So knowing that I'm that for them is really just, I'm so grateful.
So would you describe the RCA role? If someone were to come to you and say, look, describe what an RCA is in one sentence, would mentor be that best way to describe it, or is there another way to kind of sum up, or in a comprehensive way, what the RCA role is?
It's very difficult in one sentence.
We'll give you two.
I would say that an RCA is a person on campus who is a rock for freshmen. And a rock in many different terms. It's a rock as in a mentor, and a rock as in someone who's constantly there for them. You don't need to really, of course I feel like my Z's look up to me, but I know that even if they don't really agree with everything I do, they know that I'm there for them as to be there to talk about anything. And also it's constantly being there, it's it helps them know that there's a community on campus, to know that they can go back to their hall, they can go back to Blair 6 and 7, and know that there's kind of an atmosphere there where they'll always be accepted. So yeah, I feel like an RCA is a rock.
A rock, I like that. That's cool. So I've told students that they're considering being RCA that I really appreciate the role, not only for what you provide to the freshmen, but how you develop yourself. Have you noticed that, or seen how you've been challenged and grown through the RCA experience? I know you're still in the first couple months, but where have you been challenged and stretched and grown?
So I think that one of the places I've grown is just having different viewpoints on situations. So, or trying to look at one situation in many different perspectives. Because before, I kind of looked at, I always thought that there was a right choice or a right decision to be or kind of thought that it was black and white and it was right and wrong. Whereas being an RCA now, I see how people can come to the same conclusion or come to different conclusions in either the same way or different ways. So like, even like something as simple as getting a problem set done. So some people may want to get the problem set done like a week earlier and then like check it with like their professor and their preceptor and then like with me and stuff like that. And then other people may just want to do the problem set the night before and kind of just like bang it out and do it. So like and before I thought that maybe like doing it the night before was kind of like frowned upon or something like that. But then now I've come to the realization that people just have different ways of doing things and that's okay.
Right.
So it kind of is refreshing because I realize that it takes away the pressure for me to kind of feel like there's one way to do something or there's one like direct like right path in life. So now I kind of know that like so many people have like different paths to get to the same place, but everyone ends up where they're supposed to be.
Yes. So how? So here you are as a senior. You're thrust back into the freshman experience.
Yeah.
What do you notice about the freshman experience that you didn't realize as a freshman?
I realize how more stressful it is than
as a freshman.
Yeah, as a freshman, because before I was kind of just like, oh yeah, like coming in as a freshman, I realized that it was going to be a new experience, and I was really excited for it. I was more like, oh, this is just like awesome, like I'm going to take campus and be awesome, and this is going to be great. But now I realize that like it's really scary. Like you're actually coming into a place where you know no one, and it's by chance who your roommates are going to be, and it's just by fate that like sometimes your roommates are your friends and sometimes they aren't, or sometimes you're going to be able to click well with certain groups and sometimes you aren't. So there's so much like chance and just, I don't know, there's so much of the unknown that I kind of didn't fathom before, maybe because like my first few weeks on campus freshman year were kind of comfortable just because I had cricket as my roommate and I had like a solid Z group, but it's really like I never really thought about how different my life could have been if I didn't have RCR or didn't have the Z group or didn't have all of this stuff. So yeah, I realized how much more scary it could be.
Right. Would you agree? Personally, I believe that having RCAs who really are rocks and mentors, and then at least trying to build a solid sense of community amongst the Z groups is foundational to having a smoother transition to Princeton than otherwise. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I feel like I know you talk about this a lot, like when freshmen feel like they expend energy on kind of protecting themselves and then they're not able to use that energy that they would use towards their classes or any other things. I feel like when you have an RCA that allows you to feel like you don't need to protect yourself or you feel like you need to be so like pent up within yourself, I feel like that gives you a lot, that allows you to extend yourself in other places that you wouldn't have been able to begin with. So I feel like RCA is really critical in that role.
So, so obviously in RCA, what other groups or activities have you done in your Princeton experience?
So I've done like a lot of interesting stuff. I'm very, like as of now, I think that I most identify not being an RCA. I identify being like a peer health advisor and like a peer academic advisor for the health professions advising. And I just have been doing like a lot of like health stuff and just like helping out pre-meds and stuff like that because it's really stressful. I realized that like freshman year I was like, wow, this is really like being pre-med and taking the science classes is really like, mind-boggling at times. So like I really wanted to do that to like help out when I was a sophomore, or like when I had just like finished Gen Chem my freshman year. I was like, okay, let me help out the new people that are coming in. So I definitely, and I think that mental health is a big thing on campus. So as like a peer health advisor, I really tried to kind of like emphasize that part and like put a focus on that.
And what are your plans after college? If I can kind of take a parental direction in this conversation for a second.
Yeah, so I'm actually planning on applying to medical school, but I'm going to take a year off. And so next year I'm going to be working as a research fellow at Brigham and Women's Hospital.
Nice.
Because I've worked there as a research trainee for the past 3 summers. So I'm just going to take on my role as like no longer intern but now fellow, and then I'm gonna apply to med school.
So you've done NCAPs already, NCAPs already.
Yep. Yeah.
That's right. That's over.
Yeah, it's over.
So did you come in knowing that you want to be pre-med?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that something you were 7 years old? I'm going to be a doctor, or just?
It actually wasn't. So ever since, I don't know if this is just like the fact that I'm a first generation American, but I think that ever since I was little, I knew I wanted to be successful, just to make my parents' journey in their life worth it. So I always knew I wanted to make my parents proud, and I always knew I wanted to excel in whatever I did in life. And I feel like as I grew older, I realized that I really liked science, and certain things that happened in my family made me realize how important medicine was. So I really wanted to pursue medicine.
Can you, I remember the conversation we had a while ago, and you were talking about how your mom always just taught to stand up for what you believed in. That's neat. It seems like she's a really strong influence in your life. Both your parents are, I'm sure. Tell us more about your parents' influence. And just because you're so full of joy, you're really active in the life of the university and the life of the college, and I really appreciate it. And obviously that's due in large part to your parents. So tell us a little bit about their influence. Yeah,
so my parents are the most inspirational people. Like, oh my goodness, I can't even talk. I can talk like years and years about them. I don't know. I could talk forever about them. But so my parents are really just humble and great people, and they're humble and always want the best for like us. It's really weird because their lives are so extraordinary, but they make it so they don't seem as extraordinary as they are most times. So they kind of downplay how great they are most times. Like I know that sounds really cliche, but sometimes because I grew up in a town where most of my friends, their parents went to high school in the town. It was predominantly I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and my parents moved from Uganda and moved around the world, and then decided to settle down in Norwood because they thought that it was a place with a good educational system. So they just moved to this place that was completely unknown, and they just started this family. And like a lot of my friends, a lot of their siblings didn't graduate college or go to college, and all of my siblings went to college and graduated, and I'm the last person. And they raised us with such resilience and such strength. It's very interesting because the way that they raise us is kind of just, life is difficult. Different people get different cards. Like, I know that like we're not the wealthiest. I know that we weren't given the most money. I know that we've struggled. I know that we've faced struggles and we've overcome struggles. But don't let those struggles kind of define you. Let them propel you forward, kind of thing. And yeah, like they're just so strong, and they've just taught me to be very humble in everything that I exceed in, to always have fortitude and always remain strong to my beliefs, and to always just believe and have faith in the Lord and just in yourself and in your family. So
let me ask, there's so much talk about resilience and perseverance, grit, and you felt like your parents really instilled that in you. Can you, it's almost, you don't want to make it formulaic, but what were the key ingredients towards instilling that in you? Was it by example, or just their example, or what else went into developing that sense of resilience in you?
It was definitely by example, just because it was by example and lessons. So my parents would always tell us to just what was right and what was wrong, and what to do and what they expected of us. And they had very high expectations for us. And they expected, it was not an option to not get to those expectations. And because they expected the most out of us, which is great. And that's why me and all my siblings are really successful today. But also by example. So it's very interesting, like my parents, they came here. They didn't, like my father and mother both came here, worked hard, went to school, like still like my dad is like continually just like, oh, like I want to learn more, I want to go to get a master's degree, I want to learn all this stuff. Like they continually worked hard. They didn't come from like a lot of money or anything, but they never made that as an excuse. They didn't blame their upbringing. They kind of just worked hard and didn't ever blame where they came from. And they would have, sometimes my mom would work crazy shifts just because she had 5 kids, like, and my mom and dad, I didn't really see them a lot growing up just because they worked so much, because they wanted to give us the opportunity of a life that they didn't have. So I would always, like, it's very interesting because when I was younger, I'd always question sometimes when my parents wouldn't be able to make it to my soccer games, or when I like had like some presentations at school, and like my parents would usually come for everything, but like sometimes they wouldn't be just because of like work or something. And I'd be like, oh man, like why couldn't they come? Like, oh my goodness, they couldn't come and pick me up from basketball and stuff like that. But now looking back on it, I realized that they were working hard for us to be able to be given the opportunity to present in front of people and to go to basketball and just like be given this great life. And that's where I get the grit, and that's where I get the resilience, because I know that like life is difficult, but that's no excuse to not try your hardest.
Let me, just one more question on this, because I know we're drawing to a close.
Yeah.
One component that I feel is essential to developing that resilience and grit is allowing your children to struggle, or at least give them the room to struggle and kind of figure things out for themselves. Would that be true in your experience?
Yeah, I think so. Like, a lot of things that I went through, I pulled on my brothers and sisters for help. And there are certain instances in my life where I couldn't really pull on my parents.
Because they would be there. Like there's one thing, well, like they talk about helicopter parents, and what I like snowplow parents better, where they kind of take all those struggles out of your life and just so you can focus on academics. And there's where I think it's important for children to learn appropriately, to go through some struggles and have your parents there, but they don't take away the problem. They just help you through the problem. Does that make sense? Yeah. I mean, so I'm just wondering if that's your experience as well. No,
that's for sure. That's definitely my experience. So during high school, I remember I used to be so angry at my parents because I was like an athlete. I used to play basketball and soccer, and I did track for 2 years also. And my parents would be like, okay, you need to come home from practice, and you guys have a dish and cooking schedule. So we've been cooking. Like, I started cooking dinners for my parents since I was in middle school. So I would have homework, have practice, have school, and then have to come home and either do my chores, wash the dishes, or cook dinner. And I would be so angry. I'd be like, I just don't understand it. Like, the first person in my class doesn't have to do this. I could have been studying for my biology exam. Like, now I'm spending an hour and a half cooking. But now I realize that time management helped me out big time. And just that struggling through high school and trying to balance all those things has made me who I am today. I cannot, it's such a little thing, like washing the dishes or like doing your laundry, but like the fact that my parents have kind of been like, no, you need to do that, has made me so more, like, I don't really complain about a lot, and I don't really take the easy way out of things, because I know that there's a way to do it, and there's a way to do it right, and you can do it right and be able to do everything that is on your plate. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I guess sometime we'll have you back on, and we'll talk more about cricket. Now everyone's gonna. Now I have to interview cricket because everyone's gonna want to hear her side of the story. But Harriet, I want to just thank you for this time. I want to thank you so much for being in Mathey College. I really want to thank you for the great work you're doing as an RCA, and just great knowing you.